It's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
Episode 76 of The Burrows. I'm Kevin Punked, as always, joined by Michael Merlo here for BTO Media, talking baseball. And it's just a Mets funeral day today. We'll talk some Yankees at the end. We have a ton of around the league stuff, MVP races, AL wildcard races. The Mets are not the only team collapsing right now in this playoff race across the league. But, Mike, we're both in black today, completely fitting. It is a complete funeral for this dead Mets team, which now no longer controls their own playoff destiny.
Yeah, this was planned, by the way, too. I had asked Kevin to wear black today. I had brought out a nice black shirt because this is the funeral of the New York Mets. This is going to be the last episode I think we do, unless we do one later in the week where the Mets are still alive in the postseason. So it's just we're gonna get to a lot, obviously, on them. The Yankees have a chance to win the division, and what has gone on in the American League Central is truly unbelievable. And I cannot wait to get into that as well, because that is one of the most, maybe not storyline based, but in terms of just numbers and how far they were down, how far back they were, this is one of the biggest collapses, if not the biggest collapse in Major League Baseball's history.
So where do you want to start with the Mets here? Because I have so many different drastic big points I want to make. We're going to talk a little bit about potential offseason stuff. If they did miss the playoffs, what does that look like? Our jobs on the line? What is wrong with this baseball team, which we've beat a dead horse all year, but more things pop up every week. Where do you want to go first?
I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about is, on a week-to-week basis, it's a different problem. But if you asked me right now, what is the biggest issue with this baseball team, I don't really think I could give you an answer because I don't know. And this is coming from somebody that watches the team every day. I don't know what is their biggest issue. Is their biggest issue just not being clutch? Okay, if you want to count that as being a big issue, then fine. But like the pitching, it's either the pitching, it's either the bullpen, or it's either the offense. And it's never the same thing. It's different every week, every 2 weeks. And that, I think, is the most frustrating part.
Yeah, and the problem is it's easy to look at the rotation and just say this rotation's not made up of good pitchers. And there's guys who have not been good throughout their career. And that's understandable, is that we knew coming into the season that they didn't have a great rotation. We knew that they had guys who struggled. But you look at their losses, and that Phillies series, the 4-game sweep in the middle of that awful, 7-game losing streak with Cincinnati, Texas, and Philadelphia. You look at those games in that whole stretch, whether it's the Phillies series, the Reds series, or the Rangers series, and there's a 1-0 loss, there's a 9-3 loss, there's an 11-3 loss, there's an 8-3 loss, a 3-2 loss, 6-3, 3-2. Like, you have every different kind of loss. There's the bullpen blown games, there's the offense comes out dead, there's the games where the starting pitching stinks. There is no identifiable one thing besides the idea that the overall team is just not a postseason roster.
Their pitching ERA is 16th. The Yankees are 15th. Their FIP, fielding independent pitching, they are 4th in baseball. Okay, their pitching WAR as a team is 10th. Okay, so yes, the pitching hasn't been great. It hasn't been where you've needed it to be. But like, there are moments where the pitching is an issue, and then there are moments like this weekend where the pitching isn't an issue, and they give up 6 total runs over 2 days. You got to win that base. You got to win those baseball games. You have a runner on third base with less than 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. He's the winning run. You got to win that baseball game.
It's bad. It's really bad. And to lose the games to the Nationals after you win the first one, after you win the series to the Padres, you lose the last 2. What just feels like a knife has just been in your rib cage for the last 2 months, and you're just getting it twisted and twisted and twisted And this national series was almost a final straw feeling, because not only do you lose those 2 games to a team in your division that you should be beating in your final home series of the year, but also you lose the right to control your own destiny in the postseason. And that was just unacceptable on Sunday, to lose that game 3-2. Absolutely unacceptable.
It was the Saturday game really was the first moment where I felt like, okay, if they miss the playoffs, I don't care. Because before that, I was like, you got to get in. You got to save face. You got to save the embarrassment. You have to get into the postseason. And after losing that game on Saturday, I sat there and really thought about it and said, they don't deserve to make the postseason. This team is not a playoff team, and they should be treated as such. You shouldn't get in because you got lucky that the Reds and the Giants and the Diamondbacks couldn't win ball games behind you. They should be treated, and they should feel the embarrassment of one of the most disappointing seasons in sports history, easily one of the top 3 most disappointing seasons in New York sports history. They should feel that embarrassment, because that's how the fans feel. And I hope the players feel that too.
And we're at a point where every team's played about 156 games. Some have played 157, but every team's played 156. You got 6 games left. The Mets and Reds both are 80 and 76. To think before the season, I don't care how bad we thought the pitching was. I don't care about any of the flaws with the bottom of the order that I laid out in the beginning of the year. I don't care about how bad the bullpen's been this summer. If I would have told you 84 wins gets you into the playoffs, the Mets are not going to make it, or at the least, it's not going to be an easy ride to get into the postseason. That's embarrassing, and that is just awful by the Mets. It's awful. 84 wins for the highest payroll, and I know it's not all active money, but for the most expensive team in Major League Baseball history, where you added a top 3 MVP in a year after you went to the championship series, you need to win 84 games, and you probably won't. That's awful.
It is. And let me ask you this: if they don't make the playoffs now, and you've heard, things aren't going well inside the organization right now, and I'm sure that means Cohen is absolutely just infuriated. I just couldn't be any more pissed off at what he's watching. What happens? What changes are made? And I'm not even saying I'm advocating for change. I don't think I would fire Mendoza. I certainly wouldn't fire David Stearns, although he had as bad of an offseason as you could possibly have. I wouldn't fire these guys. But what changes are coming? What's going to happen? What's going to be different next season?
I think that Mendoza has to go if they miss the playoffs. I've said this all year, but you're really in a position now where with 1 year left on his contract, you have to extend him or you have to fire him. I think the answer is to fire him. I don't know how you can extend him and justify that to your fan base after the year, which I'm sure. So let's say they miss the playoffs. They win 3 more games. The Reds win 4 more games. Mets miss the playoffs. And we're sitting here 6 weeks from now. And throughout October, little articles from The Athletic, from Baseball Insiders, it all comes out that the Mets had serious clubhouse issues. How do you, after the World Series, justify extending Carlos Mendoza to your fan base? I don't think you can.
If the problems are in the clubhouse, that's a completely different story, which I don't know what's going on in that clubhouse. Mm-hmm. I don't know how things are. I mean, Ken Rosenthal has dropped little tidbits, towards the end of the season now that he doesn't know the inner workings of how the Met locker room goes. He understood it in Philly. He understands it's a great place to be. That was the article. But if you're going to blame somebody for this season, it's David Stearns. Now, David Stearns is not going anywhere, right? I think that is
I think he's safe.
I think he's as safe as one could be after a disgusting season like this.
Mm-hmm.
Why? For me, as a diehard Mets fan that would want to see some sort of change, I don't think I want it in the manager. I think they have a good manager. I don't think this is on him. I really don't.
I don't either, but you understand where I'm coming from with.
But do we need a scapegoat?
Optics.
Is it right?
You're going to have to need a
scapegoat.
I think you need a scapegoat in this scenario. We're looking at a team in the hardest media market that I would call a bigger single season single season failure than any we've seen in recent memory. The Jets with Rodgers, the Nets with all of their superstars, and who really cares about the Nets anyways, but this feels like the biggest single season failure of any of them.
I think, it's tough. It's tough to do that right now, like on the spot.
Yeah,
Like,
it
the
is.
Nets would be one with the 3 superstars, but yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
But
And
also,
also,
the Nets won a playoff series and took the champions to 7 games. Like
Yeah.
the Mets are not going to come close to that, barring
Probably.
some sort of Jose
Probably.
Iglesias miracle that he just gets signed and release a new song and they become
You know,
great again.
I wrote that down. I was having a conversation with somebody last night, and he had said, well, not signing Iglesias was big. And I stayed on the same track that I was in the offseason, that I was actually happy they didn't bring him back. I thought it would have been manufactured vibes, and I don't think it would have worked. And you look at the difference in the team, and I'm not saying it was all Iglesias last year, but how clutch they were late in games. And now you look at this season where they're 0-67 in games when trailing after the 8th inning. So do those vibes correlate to late inning success? I don't know. It's shocking to me.
And I think a couple of things when you just dissect what's wrong with the team that go by the wayside. I think getting Jesse Winker for 26 games this year was rough. I think that he was a big vibes clutch guy for them in the second half of last season. He was a good left-handed bat to have in the middle or bottom of the order. And you lost a lot of vibes and a lot of clutch factor with that. But you also lost a lot with Vientos this year. And he gave you a ton of clutch moments and big home runs in the middle of games and extra base hits that you just didn't get this year consistently, although he's had a nice September and end of August, but that's not enough at this point.
He had a big hit Saturday, to bring them back into the game. 100%.
I also think, not to cut you off, but
No,
I
you're
also
good.
think the Soto signing for this year hurt some of the clubhouse and organization, because while I don't think Soto himself is an issue at all, that is a lot of money, and that was a lot of praise and attention and conversation surrounded around a guy who was not there for the special moments last year. So I think Alonso probably felt slighted by the entire offseason. I think some of the players in the clubhouse probably felt slighted by the amount of attention and love that the organization gave to Soto, almost in this is how you had to get him, whether you were the Yankees or the Mets, in a desperate attempt to gain his favor. And I just think that really hurt the dynamic of the clubhouse, and losing Iglesias obviously did not help it either.
Yeah, but is that right? And I'm not in these locker rooms, and we're not around guys getting paid this kind of money. And I understand there's going to be a hint of jealousy, especially if you're, a guy like Lindor, who does very well for himself, but Soto got more than double what you get. And same thing with Alonso. He got a third of what not even close to what
it was literally like a seventh of what.
Yeah, a
Soto
seventh.
got.
Exactly. I remember we had a video about this. We made a video about this. So how much does that actually hurt the locker room, and what is it like in there? Because you remember last season, all you heard about was how great and how tight they were in that clubhouse.
That was it. It was one of those power of friendship teams that just strung on a run because of the energy they had. And I think Soto was such a unique free agent because, unlike Ohtani, who knew he was going to the Dodgers, you had to ploy this guy from one of your rivals who plays a half hour away. You had to pay him the most money ever, and you had to make it kind of public that you were selling out to get him. And that's fine. I mean, the guy is a generational player. I would have done the same thing, but I think it could have affected the clubhouse, and I really think it could have affected Alonso.
Well, if it affected Alonso, honestly, and it affected his play and it affected how he came to work every day, then I don't want him back. And
no, I don't think,
crazy as that sounds, he's my favorite player. I don't want you back if that's the case.
I think the organization maybe made their decision on who they're tying their future to the next 5 years between Soto and Alonso, and I think they made the right choice going with Juan Soto. But
of course,
I don't think that Alonso's back next year. And I don't think Alonso is the great unifier in the Mets clubhouse either. I don't think he's ever been.
Well, we knew that. We knew that going into the season. We knew it was
Yeah.
Lindor and Nimmo who were the two guys. And now you even hear more from Soto that it's really Marte. And I wonder if this has any effect. A couple of weeks ago, Mike Puma wrote an article where basically Soto came up to him and said, there's a lot of leaders in this clubhouse, but the one guy that is truly a leader is Starling Marte.
Mm-hmm.
That's his best bud. They're always together. You watch them. They're always right next to each other. So I wonder what that, how that sat in the locker room as well.
Yeah, it's not a great dynamic, I think, behind the scenes. I agree with the rumors, even though, again, we don't know them. We don't know any of these guys. We're not there. We're not in press conferences. But I just don't see this team as a great friendship-ridden, like vibes team. They're just not.
And
they felt dead the whole summer.
And you don't have to be, right? Like, you don't have to. You can hate each other and win a World Series. I mean, if you're good enough, that's what's going to happen. But it certainly helps.
Yeah, and like the Dodgers last year, I don't think anybody was sitting here saying this team's the best of friends. They have such a great energy and vibe when they're on the field together. They're just great. And I'm sure they didn't hate each other. But the Mets this year did not have the talent to get by without just that exciting, contagious energy that they had last year. Stearns did not put the talent on the field.
No, he didn't. The moves that he made, and listen, a couple of them were obvious. I mean, he had to bring back Manaea, right? Jesse Winker, when it looked like Alonso wasn't going to be signed, he kind of had to bring Jesse Winker back. We obviously disagreed with the Montas move. You didn't like the Holmes move. I wouldn't call that one a failure. I also wouldn't call it a success. A lot of really bad moves from this guy this offseason. Not much worked for him.
I think with Holmes, you're looking at his season and saying, okay, 11-8 with a 3.7 ERA, he's going to give you over 160 innings. You're okay with it. But the problem is that you didn't do anything at the top of the rotation. And the best option you've had at this point now at the top of the rotation is 3 rookies who, God knows what happens if they walk into LA to face that team in a wild card round. Or if they have to pitch a big game this week to get a playoff spot. If there's that elimination, they're going to have to. If there's that day where you have the kid who's only been pitching for 6 weeks in Major League Baseball has to go out there and give you on the road. Granted, I don't think that they're going up against a horrible disadvantage on the road this week, especially if it's against Miami.
No, I think it's a pretty big disadvantage.
So either way, however you feel about it,
I feel freaking awful.
I think the Cubs is a disadvantage for sure, having to go to Wrigley, but like Miami, if you can't win 2 games in Miami at the end of this week, you don't deserve to be there.
I'd rather play the Cubs 6 times than have to go to Miami for that 3.
And Miami's licking their chops to play some spoilers.
This is their World Series. This is their World Series. They already moved Sandy back to Friday. I mean, it's their World Series.
Yep. No, they're going to be locked in for it. And they had, all things considered, a nice year. I think they'd like to finish 500.
Really nice year. Yeah. They're not. Have they been eliminated yet? I don't think they've been eliminated.
No, they're not.
Yet.
But they're going to be any night now. They're 4 games back.
Unless they sweep the
Mets and Reds. So if they sweep the Mets and they get some help in the Reds games, Marlins probably have to win out to get in.
Yeah.
And then they need a lot of help.
Probably going to happen this week.
It's probably going to happen. They're 76-80 right now. But they'd love to play some spoiler and get to 500 this weekend against the Mets. Yeah. That would be a huge high note for them.
I mean, the history. With these 2 teams. So it's somebody. I was on the phone with my friend last night, and he said, "Oh, they have to play the Marlins this weekend." And I was like, "I'd literally rather play like 28 other teams than the Miami Marlins."
Yeah,
this week.
But not at Atlanta.
Teams. Probably Atlanta will be 1, and then the Marlins will be 2. I don't want to play Miami.
Would you rather play Miami in Miami or Atlanta at Citi Field?
Atlanta at Citi Field.
Okay.
I hate playing at that stupid stadium in Miami too.
What's funny too is this whole. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I wasn't. I was done.
All right. This whole thing is so negative, and everybody's talking about how negative it is. Yesterday, I turned on a Phillies podcast. I should have saved the name. I didn't recognize the people. It didn't seem like super popular, but decent listenership. They said the number 1 team I'm most afraid of playing in the postseason is the Mets. That is crazy to me after this sweep that they just had. You're going to get them at Citizens Bank Park. But I guess because of last year and because of, most of the games this year going the Mets' way, you feel really down on it. But the Mets have been so bad, and Phillies fans are still worried about them.
Well, that's the little brother, big brother kind of thing. You'll understand it more.
I would
as we
understand
get-
it. Yeah.
You'll start to understand it more as we get through the Soto era a little bit. But that's the little brother, big brother thing. No, the Mets lost. The Mets won one game there and lost every other game in Philly, and then the Mets did not lose a game at Citi Field to the Phillies this year. So they have to expect they would lose both at Citi Field. And this was really the first year in a very long time where the Mets struggled at Citizens Bank Park. So I think the Mets would feel good about a series against the Phillies as well. I certainly would, but I'm not even thinking about that because they're not making the playoffs. So
Yeah. I don't know what to.
and this isn't like a reverse jinx. I'm not like trying to like reverse
I
jinx
know,
this, like jinx this. You know, like I really don't think this is a playoff team. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
I don't think so either. If they controlled their destiny this week, I'd feel better about it. But I just, with the Reds playing the way that they're playing and their last 6 are so much easier, they get 3 at home against Pittsburgh and then 3 on the road against Milwaukee might be easier than 3 on the road against Miami for the Mets. Because Milwaukee might go light this weekend because they are going to lock up the 1 seed.
When are they going to lock up the? How? Let me see that.
They're
quick.
3 games up on Philly right now, I believe. Yeah, they're 3 games up on Philly. So
2
they
and a
need
half.
to win. They need to win 1 game, and Philly needs to lose 1 game. I believe they'll need to win 2 games, Milwaukee. So if they take 2 out of 3 this weekend, they're the 1 seed. Or this week before the weekend.
Like, there's a chance this Mets team wins like 82 games.
That's awful.
Like, that'd be an awful week, obviously. It would be incredibly disappointing. But, like, if I told you they were going to win 82 games and the big guns stayed healthy, you'd be like, what the hell?
Let me ask you this. They win 82. They missed the playoffs by 2-3 games. And they had the health. Cohen decides to fire Stearns. We don't expect it to happen. I don't anticipate that at all. What's the immediate reaction? Is it I trust Cohen here, or is it that's probably an irrational decision and a mistake?
It's an irrational decision.
So you would definitely be upset if they fired Stearns.
Unless you had Theo Espin or Billy Bean ready to go with 5% ownership, by the way.
Conversation with Stearns because he did a terrible job this year.
Yeah, no, that and the other guys would come with ownership, 5%, 10% ownership of the team.
Yeah,
and I don't think he's willing to do that. But if I would be upset, I would just be like, oh, here we go again. We're a what's the word? Rudderless ship.
Yeah,
like that. This is what we are again. I feel stable with Stearns at the top. I still feel good about him going forward. He had a bad offseason.
Awful offseason.
Awful offseason.
Horrifying offseason.
It doesn't
the worst offseason in baseball this year.
It doesn't get worse than that offseason. That's what you would call it.
That's really bad.
If we were going to title it, it doesn't get worse than that.
No, worst team money can buy.
Yeah.
Is back. History repeats itself, Mike.
Let me just see. I had a couple of things. We were all over the place. We did a good job there. Do you believe any of the teams chasing them are better?
Yeah, I think Cincinnati is.
You think Cincinnati's better?
I do. And I think San Fran's almost as good. Arizona's a huge surprise for me at 79 and 77. Yeah. I don't think that they're a very good roster. I don't think
they got 3 players that could be at the top.
Yep. But that's
you put against anybody.
That's what their strength is, and it's better than what the Mets have. San Fran, if they didn't have that weird lull in June and July, they would have just easily gotten into the wild card.
Yeah. The Mets swept them. The Mets swept them in San Francisco, and I was like, oh, this team is not very good.
I mean, we were sitting here the night of the Devers trade saying bona fide contender now.
Yeah, we would have been shocked if they didn't make the postseason.
And now, 3 games under 500, they feel toast. I'd be shocked if they got in.
Sorry, the Liberty fired. They got rid of their head coach.
Yeah. Huge news. Let's interrupt this.
I got breaking news on my phone. I don't know.
I think the Reds are better, though. I think that they just have a better baseball team.
Like, overall baseball team, okay. I know we like the manager better. This just sucks, dude. It just sucks.
Yeah.
You see the report that I don't know how true the report is. It may be fake. That Steve Cohen is infatuated with Kyle Schwarber.
I could totally see that. It's been feeling like a possibility. If they lost Alonso, Schwarber feels like such a possibility. And there's a, double win there. You kill two birds with one stone. You get him out of Philadelphia, and you get your big DH that you just have never had.
Or you put, yeah, right. And then Vientos will play first.
Yeah, which I hate, but still.
Why do you hate that?
I just don't think Vientos is a 162 game first baseman.
Oh, okay. Well, neither do I, but they're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, I would try to find a different first baseman.
Maybe split the. I don't want to trade Vientos. I think Vientos going to figure it out.
If I were them, I would try to find. I would go after a guy like Schwarber, and I would try to find a lefty. Do what the Yankees did with Paul Goldschmidt and Ben Rice this year. Try to find a lefty veteran on a 1-year deal.
Well, they're going to be too lefty heavy.
They are, but I want the platoon at first.
Because think about it. If they sign Schwarber and let Alonso go, it's Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Schwarber. That's 4. McNeil's 5. McNeil's back. I think that's it. 5. 5 lefties. 1 switch.
Yeah. I like having the platoon at first. So I don't know if you can get Schwarber at first base at all. I don't think so. But I like having the two options at first. The scary thing with Schwarber is what contract does he get after a 53-plus home run year and 130 RBI season at 33 years old? What's his contract?
And you're going to have to overpay to get him from Philadelphia. Because I think he likes it there, by all accounts. If he's going to leave, you're going to have to overpay. And if he's going to leave for a rival, you're going to have to overpay for him.
I'm going to just go a little bit of a different route here away from the Mets.
Yeah.
How come, because we're going to talk about this anyways, Raleigh and Judge is such a close MVP race, which is okay. I'm okay with that. But Schwarber and Ohtani is a no-brainer.
Well, I don't think it should be, because I think Soto should also be in that conversation. But
Ohtani is the runaway NL. There's no chance he doesn't win NL MVP in the eyes of the fans.
Yeah, his WAR is so much higher than Schwarber's, right? And they're both not playing defense. Like Ohtani's got a 7.2 WAR. Schwarber, I got to go all the way down to 18th. He's at 4.7. So, yes, Schwarber has had an incredible season. He has the counting stats, but Ohtani has been the most valuable player in the National League. And I don't think it's close between first and second. You just don't have that special player. You don't have that special player doing something in the National League like you have in the American League with a catcher trying to catch Judge.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's all about the narrative.
If Schwarber was a catcher, or if Schwarber was a third baseman, then I think it would be you would have more of a conversation.
I think the catcher thing and the switch hitter thing and the history of it is a great storyline for voters to get behind. But I just don't agree with the idea that because he did that, he's the MVP, because no other catcher or switch hitter has done this before, because Judge also is having a season that few guys have ever had in the same year.
Yeah, he's also not breaking any records, but yes, he's not breaking a home run record, obviously. I can't believe Cal's only 4 away. If he does that, if he does that, then I'd say give him the MVP. If he gets to 60, which is absolutely possible, it's 2 in this next week. And by the way, they've run away with the division.
Yeah, totally.
But does he win it?
He probably does. I think he's going to win it anyways today.
Right now, you think he's going to win it?
I think right now he's going to win it, and I don't think he should, but I think he is.
I happen to agree with you, and I do not think he should win it, and I did not believe he was going to for about 2 or 3 weeks. I thought same thing was going to be Judge, and now I'm looking at these odds, and they're closing. It's getting tight. I think it's going to end up being Schwarber. Riley.
Judge's on-base percentage is almost 100 points higher than Rally's. His OPS is almost 200 points higher than Rally's. They're off in home runs and RBIs a significant margin.
Right.
Even though Judge has 49 and 105, Judge missing those 2 weeks killed him in the RBI column in this race. But to me, I think batting average does matter a little bit, especially when you're 60, 70 points higher. 70 points higher
almost
than
100. Yeah.
than Rally. It's almost, I mean, you're actually 79 points higher than Rally right now. So it's a huge difference in season. And I don't value the defense in the same way as everybody else, I guess.
No,
really
you're not. You're not valuing the defense at the position that I think the way everybody else is. I agree. It's Judge. It's Judge, and I wouldn't even think about it. You know, I look and I would say, yep, it's a check. But the injury killed him. Not playing the field killed him. It killed his WAR numbers. His WAR numbers would have been, to a point where you wouldn't have been able to think about it, because you know how these voters look at WAR, and it's not the end all be all. But if you had a player who was 2 or 3 wins above the other guy, you'd say, okay, I there's no way I could vote for him. But it's not the case. It's like 0.4 off. They have to keep this a close race. But if it wasn't, if Judge never got hurt, it would be done. It would be over.
It would be done. Judge also walked 22 more times than Rally this year and has 19 more hits. So the differences in Rally's home runs and RBIs are significant. And those are big stats for an MVP race. The difference in everything else for Judge is just as alarming and just as drastic. And then defensively, I don't think the difference is... I don't think Judge is a minus defender. His WAR tells you, his defensive WAR, his defensive analytics tell you he's a slightly minus defender this year. I do not agree with that. And that's probably bias from watching him every day. But I don't agree that Judge is one of the bottom half right fielders in Major League Baseball.
Well, I remember talking to friends about this who are, love the advanced stats, and they had said because he was not playing the field, it wasn't anything he did in the field. It was the fact that he wasn't playing the field that dropped his numbers down. So it wasn't even the number. Yeah, if you look at the number, it's stupid. Like, you look at the number and it says, oh, he's a negative defensive player, but he's not. It's just he didn't play.
And then he lost a lot of points in that first week he was back in the field because he wasn't throwing the ball in.
Yes, no, they had the cutoff ban. It's, the creative cutoffs with Jazz out there. Yeah.
But I kind of look at this 2 ways with the MVP. As a Judge fan, obviously, and as a Yankee fan, there's it's really unfortunate if we look back here 10, 15 years from now when his career's over and say he could have had 4 MVPs, but he had 2. Like, he already got robbed of 1.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he does have 2.
You're going to look at these seasons and you're going to say you're going to be pissed off. I mean, when we get to the point where we're inducting this guy into the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown, and you're there, and we're there doing a live show, okay, that day. We're doing a live show from Cooperstown because Aaron Judge is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. You're going to be pissed off when you look up and you see that he has 3 MVPs when he really should have 5. That's going to piss you off, because that could possibly be the difference between him being considered, whether it's the greatest Yankee of all time or one of the 5 greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll know it should be 5, but it's only 3. Or it's only 2. Maybe it's win one after this.
Like, a cross-sport comparison is Kobe Bryant, who is definitely one of those polarizing guys when you do rankings. And his fans love him, and they think he's the 2nd or 3rd best player of all time. And the rest of the league probably has him closer to like the 10 to 13 range all time. But he had 1 MVP. He could have won 4. And he probably should have won 3. So it makes a big difference at the end of the day when guys like LeBron and Jordan have 4 and 5, and Judge is going to leave with 2, whereas other guys are going to have 4 or 5. And he's going to be compared that way because what do we do after a career? We don't go back and watch every at-bat. We go to the baseball reference page and we go look at it and we see how many times did this guy win MVP, how many times was he the best player in baseball, And Judge probably was 4 times. And right now, it feels like he's going to have 2 MVPs.
How about LeBron, too? Every year. Every year it should have been
Yep.
an MVP for LeBron, my guy. The voter fatigue, though. We talked about it last week. It's the voter fatigue.
Judge is LeBron.
I don't think we could say that.
He's LeBron.
No, we can't say that. Maybe the Yankees are the Cavs, where they'll get to a couple of finals with him and not win because there's nothing around him. Are they going to win the division?
No, but I think they're going to win the
Valiant.
American League.
I think so too.
Doesn't it feel that way?
Yes. I
haven't said this the whole year, by the way, and I haven't wanted to the whole year. And I haven't felt that way the whole year.
I felt that way this week. We were at Tap Room Thursday night, and I looked at my buddies. I said, I think they're winning the American League. They're not winning the World Series, but they're going to win the American League.
And if they did get to the World Series, this might sound crazy. I think they have a much better chance of winning it than they did last year.
Well, it depends on who. I can't answer.
Because I don't think there's a Dodgers in the mix. And I think the Yankees offensively are a much better team than they were last year.
They're deeper for sure. I don't know if better, but they're deeper. I would have to see the opponent. It's tough to say. I'd have to see the opponent.
And on the topic of Judge, we could sit here and talk about MVPs all we want. There's one accolade in his career that matters now, and it is getting that World Series ring. Because if he gets 6 MVPs total and doesn't win a World Series ring, that's going to get dangled over his head for the rest of time.
Well, I want to maybe have a crazy conversation here for a second. So let me just pull these up really quickly. I'm looking at the home runs. Who did he just pass?
DiMaggio.
He just passed DiMaggio. He passed Berra and then
Berra, yep.
So Aaron Judge has an OPS of 1,025 in his career. Babe Ruth obviously had an 1195, Mantle 978, and Lou Gehrig is 1079. Judge could pass him. I think we're going to have a serious conversation about Aaron Judge being a top 2 or 3 Yankee of all time. We're going to get to that point, I think. He's not going to pass Ruth, but he could pass Mantle, he could pass Gehrig, and I don't think it would shock me. But he can only do that with a World Series. And he can only do that, and I think it only has to be one. If he goes this season and he goes crazy in the playoffs and he is able to win a World Series on his back, that's it. He's good. In Yankee history, I think he's good.
And I think that would be a huge weight lifted off the shoulders, not only him, but everyone involved with the Yankees, GM, manager, fan, because I think that there's a unique stress as a fan where I'm sitting here saying, this is the best player I will probably see my entire life.
Yep.
For any of my sports teams, whether it's the Yankees, any team I root for, any sport. Judge is a player that most fans never get to experience. If they waste that without getting a ring, that is an incredible disappointment and really upsetting.
You literally get to watch Justin Fields on a weekly basis.
How could I forget?
You watch Justin Fields on a weekly basis. No, it would feel so wasted. I get that. I mean, I felt, I don't think to the same level, obviously, but a little bit with DeGrom where they weren't able to win with him, and he was the best pitcher and best player I had ever seen play for my team. So that does suck, and that would suck if they're not able to win one. But the one thing I would say is a lot of it's been, and I'm not putting all of the blame in the postseason on him, but he's at fault, right? It's not just because of other people that they're not winning. He's the best hitter in the regular season and then craps out in the postseason. Yeah. That's on him.
And I think one of the easiest comparisons for Judge is Don Mattingly, who was just an incredible player, never won a ring, obviously.
He's better.
Judge is obviously better, but Mattingly has 3 or 4 seasons in the mid-'80s that are just, he was the best player in the league. And the difference is the Yankees stunk with Mattingly. And in the playoffs, he had a 417 average. So he got there on a bad team and then didn't win. Judge gets there every year on really good teams who are league favorites the whole season.
Yeah.
And he is the biggest flaw.
No, he is. And like, it has to change. It has to flip. You would think with such a great player, it has to flip. So is this going to be the season? You thought last year with the protection in the lineup. This season, it has to be the year. This has to be the year.
I think this year feels like it could be it. And maybe an even easier comparison to make because of the greatness is Barry Bonds, who was not a very good playoff performer. And up until 2002, he's getting ripped because he's Judge. He is the guy who wins every MVP, who is on a historic franchise, who is always on a top seed and can't play in the postseason. And then in 2002, something just clicks and he hits 16 home runs in the playoffs and they lose in the World Series. Judge is going to have one of those years. I have to imagine 16 home runs is insane in the postseason. But I think Judge is going to have one of those years where he just continues the regular season MVP play right into the playoffs. And maybe having a wild card round will help that out, where for the first time in his career, really, he's not going to have a week off between his MVP regular season and his first playoff game.
And remember Bonds. Like, remember this about Bonds. Unless you like really know the history about Barry Bonds, you don't think about the bad postseason play. You just think of what he did in that one postseason that got them there, and that's it. For me, that's all Judge needs. If he has a big-time postseason here and they win a World Series, I think that's all you're thinking about. You're going to remember this. You're going to remember the MVPs, and you're going to remember the World Series MVP. That's what you're going to be remembering.
Yeah, it is. And for Judge, this is a huge year for him to get it. But I'll circle back to, I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League. And there's a lot to unpack here with the AL, so I think we could just knock it all out in one conversation. I don't need to do Yankees first and then go through. We could just go right into the American League playoff race. I think the Yankees are the best team in it right now. It is hectic. Toronto has not had a great month. They've been very average this month. And now they enter a series with Boston here that has huge implications all over because it's a 3-game set. If Toronto wins 2 out of 3, they're probably winning the division. They feel very comfortable there. The Red Sox are not in a guaranteed playoff spot. They're just a game up on Houston and Cleveland. And if they are able to take 2 out of 3, I'd say Toronto probably loses the division. So huge implications all around this week in the AL. And the Yankees are, I have to look back through the years, but I think in the expanded playoff, they'll be the first, if the season ended today, the first time the American League's top wild card had the second best record. It's happened in the National League. I don't think it's happened in the American League yet.
Wow. Do you think the Tigers hold on?
No, I don't.
Like,
they are just sliding.
How could you pick them? How could you pick them right now and feel good about it?
You can't.
And you know, like, it makes no sense. Like, I just like pull up the Baseball Reference page and look at this team. They have 2 guys with an OPS plus over 100. 2 guys. Kyle Manzardo and obviously Jose Ramirez. That's it.
And they play each other this week, Cleveland and Detroit. Is it in Cleveland?
Is it this week? Is it early?
It's tonight. Starts tonight. So this is it. Right here. Detroit at Cleveland. Cleveland's home against Texas in their last 3. And I don't know who Detroit finishes with. They finish up with, after the 3 games against the Guardians, it's the Red Sox. So Detroit's got a tough last 6 on the road here. Cleveland and Boston.
Saving their season here. Season.
And who knows if Cleveland wins 2 out of 3 in this series, Detroit's playing Boston for the final wild card spot next week.
Right.
Or for the second wild card spot, depending on where Houston's at.
And like the fact that Houston loses these 3 games when we're looking at this before the weekend starts and we're like, okay, well, it's going to be Boston or Detroit. And Houston's like, no, we're good. We're going to lose 3. We'll be the team that slides out.
Yep. I didn't think the AL wildcard was going to shape up like this.
No, it looked like it was going to be so boring. The 3 teams, and that was it. Look at the Guardians.
Great, man.
Look at the Guardians.
This is one of my irrelevant questions of the show.
Yeah.
Who are the 2 managers of the year? Is it definitely Murphy in the NL? And then in the AL, I think it's a fascinating group. I'm sure that, I think Vogt could, if they win the division, Vogt's got a case to win it again. Boone has no case.
Schneider. I would give it to Schneider.
But Schneider's probably the favorite.
I would give it to Schneider.
But I think the manager of the year conversation is a kind of cool awards conversation this year with the amount of guys that are jumping in out of nowhere. And I mean, who expected Seattle to have this success?
I gotta say something about Seattle. I know we'll do a postseason preview with the picks. Seattle's going to the World Series.
Yeah.
Well, I just said the Yankees were going, but I take that back. I think
it's one of the two. It feels like one of the two.
It's going to be Seattle. I think it's going to be Seattle.
To further the MVP conversation, how great would it be for baseball for the Yankees and Mariners to play in the championship series?
Oh, my God.
Out of all of the American League matchups that are possible, I don't think there are many that nationally can excite the masses of baseball. Raleigh versus Judge is the one that can in the AL.
That would be massive.
That would be
massive for Major League Baseball. They need that. That can happen, right? They're on the opposite side of the bracket. If
they're on opposite sides of the bracket, no matter what.
Right. The Yankees win. They're going to play the Blue Jays in the DS, and then they would play the winner of the. Right. Okay.
And then if the Yankees win the division, they're obviously the 2 top seeds.
Right. That's awesome.
Baseball needs that.
Baseball's back. They need the Mets to make the playoffs because then they have a great postseason.
Yeah, they need the Mets to make the playoffs.
They do.
They really do.
Excellent postseason. Dodgers, Mets in the first round.
I mean, the Reds, as deserving as they've been, because
you know what?
Stayed the course.
This Reds love all
year. I've given it. This is not new.
Now I'm fighting for my life. I'm wearing black for a funeral.
So am I.
And you're sitting here glazing the Reds.
If the Reds got in, they are very deserving of that spot because nobody else in the NL, including the $100 billion Mets, nobody else in the AL is stepping up to take it. And Cincinnati in year 1 of the Francona era, which is just going to be so fruitful for them and prosperous with so many championships, is able to get into the postseason. As much as I would love that narrative, who is marketable in that series? Cincinnati versus the Dodgers. That's not a very marketable matchup. Mets-Dodgers NLCS rematch, Juan Soto versus Shohei Ohtani, is much more enticing for Major League Baseball.
There you go.
So you might see some rigging in these Mets games going on.
That'd be huge for us. We need that. We might need that.
And then if the Mets got in,
they could win that series against Dodgers.
I just feel like we're going to be sitting here in 2 weeks. And we're, after all of this funeral and all this crap about them being dead, it's Mets-Phillies in the division series again. And we're just sitting here like,
oh, crap. The Mets are up 2-1.
Like, Magic Mets are back. Phillies haven't beat them at home yet. They got a chance to get to the NLCS again this year. Or they'd go to Milwaukee.
I would do a lot for that. Well, you got the
Giants.
You can see it. Yeah, I got the Giants.
I got Dart.
They make me not want to watch football anymore. But
they're bad. They're really bad. They're really awful.
Disgusting. It's actually disgusting.
I'm pumped about the playoff race. We're going to be doing a playoff episode next week, definitely Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday morning. We'll do the playoff episode, and maybe one more on Friday. But
if the Mets sweep the Cubs or they get swept by the Cubs, I think we'll probably have to come on and do something.
Yeah,
I'll probably do a mic'd up before the Marlins series, though.
Yeah, you have to
on the Mets, of course.
But I think back to the Mariners, their overall roster is probably the most balanced and sound and trustworthy in the American League. because they have offense from a couple different places. It's not just rally.
Well, they've been the second half. Their offense has come alive.
And J-Rod's just been great in the second
Right.
half. He's going to finish the year over an 800 OPS. Who would have seen that coming?
J-Rod's been really good. Randy Arozarena's been really good. J.P. Crawford's even played a little bit better.
Mhm.
Naylor's been a good addition, but obviously we know how bad Suarez has been for them.
Yeah, Suarez has been awful for them. He's under a 700 OPS. The concern with Seattle is how much do I trust their hitters in the postseason? Do I trust that Suarez and Arozarena and J-Rod and even Raleigh are going to keep up their home run production that they had this regular season? Because even as much as the Yankees are down and with the Judge playoff success, you could say, oh, well, how could you trust them? Stanton's going to be the best hitter in the American League postseason because he is every year. He's the guy you trust the most to come in. Bellinger has a track record of postseason success. So I think that the Yankees, who just went to the World Series last year, still give me a little more confidence offensively. However, the pitching and bullpen in Seattle might get the edge in a 7-game series against the Yankees.
We love Stanton on this podcast. We love playoff Stanton. There's nobody better than playoff Stanton.
I can't wait.
I do trust them, though. Rosarena showed he has a track record of hitting in the postseason. I think Riley, listen, I mean, it's tough because you look at the best player in the league. He doesn't hit in the postseason, but I don't know. I weird feeling about this team, especially with the pitching that they have to hold up in October. I think this is going to be a fun team and a dangerous team to watch when they get to the postseason.
I do think if Toronto wins the division and gets the 1 seed, they are a great candidate for the World Series also.
They are. They're tough. They're tough. And I never believed in them all season long, but I was wrong. I was so wrong on them. Their offense is great. Bichette's out, but I'm pretty sure he's coming back before the postseason starts. And they'll obviously have as long as they win the division, they'll have the extra few days. But Gausman, Bassett, Berrios, and Lauer have been a decent top 4 where you're not getting dominated by those guys, but they're good enough to get you through.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just a good veteran group followed by a good bullpen. The Yankees' biggest issue in this postseason is going to be the issues we've seen all year and last year. Can they play defense against Toronto? Can they play defense against Boston? Whoever they play, are they going to shoot themselves in the foot defensively? Or will the bullpen implode or hold up? Because in September, for the most part, it's held up. And I think they have some interesting bullpen decisions to make come postseason time because you have 5 starters who probably deserve to be on the roster. You have only a few bullpen pitchers who you want on the roster. Bednar, Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz. Luke Weaver's had a terrible second half. He's been actually maybe their worst pitcher in the second half.
Are you
Devin
saying
Williams had a really strong September. So do you go with him after the horrifying year he had? Camilo Duvall looks awful. So how can you justify putting him into games in the postseason? The Yankees have a lot of decisions to make pitching-wise with their roster. And then the biggest and only offensive decision they have to make, who plays shortstop for you every night? Because you have the platoon at first base. You're going to be able to pretty easily navigate that. Catcher also. But Volpe or Caballero, Volpe's been hitting the last week since he's come back from that shot. He hasn't played much. But Caballero has been better. And
Caballero.
Caballero is a lethal bench replacement.
It's the way that he can affect games on the base paths. He's better defensively. How do you not go to Caballero?
And the one real issue with it for me, and you could just put Volpe in this role and it works all right, but being able to put Caballero on base for Stanton is an unbelievable asset for the Yankees in the playoffs. And you could do it with Volpe, but he's not nearly as good at stealing bases.
But it's like it's a one-time thing each game where you don't even know if it's going to matter.
It's true. It's definitely true. You're anticipating. What if Stanton goes 0 for 2 with 2 walks, and the walks are in meaningless spots, and you never get to use Caballero, and then Volpe just went 0 for 4 and made an error.
Yeah, you got to play Caballero. He has to.
It's going to be a big week for the Yankees. They have to. We'll do a show Friday in some capacity.
Were you talking about Weaver possibly being off of the postseason roster?
I don't think he should be a lock to make it.
Wow.
His second half stats, I can pull him up right now.
What a fall from grace for Luke.
His second half, he's been worse than Williams. After his injury, he really never got rolling. Yeah, he's allowed 23 earned runs in his last 35 innings pitched.
That's not good.
Awful.
It's probably not what you want.
Really bad.
Well, that is
He had a nice stretch in August where he went like 9 or 10 straight innings without a run, and he really hasn't been able to give me clean innings since. I've not felt great about Luke Weaver when he's out on the mound. He's not one of their top 3 guys anyways.
And Duvall 100% would not be, or he just might make it by default.
I don't know I just don't know why I would put him in there. I would say I got Warren or Schlittler or Heel, whoever you're not using in your top 4. I'd rather have them for the inning than Duvall. He's just crazy risk when he's out there.
11 walks and 10 earned runs in his 17 2/3 innings pitched for the Yankees.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. How about Goldschmidt quieting down big time throughout the entire season?
Goldie, it's my guy.
I know it's your guy. I don't mean to make fun of him or anything. How about Ben Rice with a huge September, though?
Ben Rice is great.
Yeah, that's the future right there.
He is, though, a real future piece for them.
That's the future. I'm not making fun of it.
Last year was the he's unlucky season, and I don't always buy that. This year's the 823 OPS, 24 home runs, 62 RBIs. Great middle of the order hitter.
What's the next season?
It's probably the rally ascension.
Okay.
Next season, Rice is at 60 homers.
So let's give this a Mets comparison. So this is Mark Vientos this year, then?
No.
Like that last year was his
Rice, much better
Unlucky.
analytics on Rice. I only take analytics when they're positive for me, and he's much better analytically.
I love doing that. Gun to your head right now, Trent Grisham a Yankee next year.
No.
Yeah,
Gone.
I agree.
But maybe he stays in New York. Real quick, we'll wrap up with this Plan B conversation. Take a minute on it. I think I'm just looking back through at the things they did to replace Soto, and the guys they literally brought in that Plan B. Obviously, Bellinger had an awesome year with 29 homers, 97 RBIs, gave you the 815 OPS. Does that replace Soto? No. Did Goldschmidt plus Bellinger replace Soto? No. So you then have to look, and I don't know, do you credit Cashman for this? Do you credit Boone for this? The internal improvement of Grisham, Chisholm, and Rice has, throughout the regular season, made them a better offense in 2025 than they were in 2024. I don't know if that translates to a better postseason offense, where you lost that individual clutch hitter at the top of the order who can give you the 2-3 run home runs and get on base consistently. But throughout the regular season, this did make them a better offense.
Yes, it. You know what? And I argued this for a very long time throughout the the off season into the regular season, and I think they were scarier last season, especially when you look at that postseason lineup, those Game 1 of the World Series lineup. Like that was one of the better lineups in the league. But this is a deeper team offensively, and I think in the postseason, depth matters the most, especially offensively, when you could keep coming at 6, 7, 8 there to that starting pitcher, to that relief pitcher, late in ball games. Yeah, it's probably a better offensive team. Maybe I'll take my L. I'm not there yet. I'll take my L maybe Friday, or I'll take my win. I don't know yet.
And in hindsight, Cashman did do a good job with this team this year. As much as I crap on him and rip on him.
Yeah, he's the man.
He ran his course. He's the guy. He's the best GM in baseball. He's the best president in baseball.
Okay.
And it's just, there's no denying it anymore. The truthers won on Brian Cashman. That'll be a wrap for this episode 76. Make sure to check out the Sunday recap if you haven't already. We went through all the NFL games this week. Go find the playbook at the PlayBK on Instagram and TikTok. Gabe Zoda, short form content. We'll be ramping up some basketball stuff in 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm really excited for that. Big NBA guy, excited for the Knicks this year. And we will have more football content, of course, throughout the week. I'm going to do a bunker later in the week. I'll invite Mike on to do it. We'll discuss if we're going to. That'll be football.
I'm getting invited
baseball.
this week?
You're getting invited this week. That'll be football and baseball this week. So we'll tie both together. of course, do the picks. Another good week for outright winners. And you can check out Power Rankings. Make sure to follow Beat the Odds Gambling, so on and so forth. You know the drill. We will see you either Friday morning or definitely next Tuesday or Monday with a playoff show, because this is a big week coming up. Mets funeral today, but maybe they come back to life this week. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week.